As software developers, we often are going for the best of the best in terms of development machines. We are going for MacBook Pros, Dell XPS, whatever the Lenovo is doing now. But is it really all necessary? Do we really need the most expensive or very expensive machines for the software development? Today we are going to talk a little bit about Raspberry Pi and whether or not it's possible or not, to use it as development machines. Of course, not all software development is made equal, and things like heavy native language processing or big data processing and using the local machine for testing purposes is in fact not going to work here. The reason being, we can already pinpoint some use cases that need a lot of compute and processing power. Today we are going to talk about working with code and whether or not Raspberry Pi is a good choice for code editing. So the plan for today's video is we're going to see how Raspberry Pi handles light web development, how long will it take for it to compile Firefox, and at the end maybe we will do some algorithmic work in the use case of university project. So meet the main hero of our today's story. This is the Raspberry Pi 3. It is a Cortex A53 CPU with 1 GB of RAM with a little micro SD Sony card machine that we are going to use it for the code development today. So today's setup is very simple. We have coffee, we have a wireless Microsoft keyboard, we have of course our Raspberry Pi and a very cheap monitor which I should clean the dust off before making this video. I'm now going to install the Raspbian distribution on this and let's code. So for coding editor we are obviously not talking about something like IntelliJ IDEA or even Visual Studio Code, because given 1 GB of RAM in our Raspberry Pi, we won't really have a good experience here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure Vim with some plugins that will maybe help us with moving around in code. So something like Control P, a custom vMRC, Vandal, and we'll go with it. So the preparation is over. We have our Vim environment ready. For the web application, I've prepared a Next.js setup, which allows us to use React on the server side and using just creating pages from just components. So yeah, very clean and easy setup. I can show you it right now. So right now we have a console that is running Next.js and is watching over the whole project, which using Vim we can now edit. So Vim actually enables us to jump around files within the folder and is even ignoring files that are specified in the git ignore file. So what we are going to do is we are going to see how fast Next.js is going to pick up change in the code that we are going to do right now. So as you can see here, right here, I've added a section, hello this is a change, with a hello this is a change paragraph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just remove this section and I'm going to save this file. We can right now go to the console section. I'm going to hit enter here, and you can see how fast it will pick up the change. So it was actually faster than I was expecting, and it even updated our page here. So right now there is no additional text that we've added here. So what this project really is just my take or my try to create a community page for the web development amateur scene. So yeah, it is in Polish, so if you are from Poland, just wait a little bit. I'm going to finish it someday. I swear. As for editing with Vim and the speed of it, we can see now that we are able to, using the Ctrl+P plugin in Vim, we are able to jump between those files quite quickly actually. So I want to jump to the footer component. You can see that just by activating the plugin, it actually see that the footer.js is a frequently accessed file, and it is visible right here, but I'm going to search it by a name, so footer. You can see that all the files were selected pretty quickly here. So as for the comfort of coding, comfort of jumping between files, it's pretty quick for such a small computer as the Raspberry Pi. So that's maybe enough for the web development. So maybe we can talk a little bit about previously mentioned native development. I was planning to compile Firefox using the Raspberry Pi, but unfortunately I was not able to do it. Then I read on the development pages from Mozilla that just the process of compiling is requiring around 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM. So maybe that was the problem here. So for native development, for big project such as Firefox, it is not feasible to use Raspberry Pi, unfortunately, but I'm very impressed with the web development possibilities using Node.js and React. That was cool. Okay, so for the algorithmic work, I've played a little bit around with my old setup. That was the project for choosing the leader in a very distributed and concurrent environment, and really it was not a lot of code. It was around 20 to 30 files of the C++ source code, and it was just fine for coding, and I was able to compile the project in around in a matter of seconds. So it was very not really. The project itself was smaller actually than the web development stuff that I've shown previously. I was planning to use the algorithmic work as a backup for if the web development wasn't good enough performance for us, but actually I am right now thinking about recommending Raspberry Pi for web development with Node.js using Vim, because frankly the performance was that good. And yeah, so maybe we can start a little series about cheapo web development machines that maybe are undervalued actually by the developers. Raspberry Pi is around $40 actually right now. It's around 150 zloty, and you have to remember that the new version came around just recently the Raspberry Pi 4, and I'm really looking forward to testing it out with those 4 gigs of RAM and faster processor. Other things that we can also, you have to remember that you can mode Raspberry Pi. You can pair it with SSD, which will improve the whole experience for working with files locally and such. So yeah, I'm actually really impressed with the machine. So in summary, working with Raspberry Pi for code development was a very pleasant experience actually. You can do all the things that are needed for your work. You can test with it, develop with it, do whatever you want. One thing that was very questionable with it was the whole web browsing experience, but maybe it will be good for you. You'll use web a little less in your job, and maybe you can concentrate on the work more. So no more Stack Overflow driven development, and maybe just use your brain for your tasks actually. Yeah. So with $3,000 or $4,000 machines like the top of the line MacBook Pros, you will be able to do your job just as well as with using something simple like Raspberry Pi. So maybe this experience will teach us something. Maybe we don't have to go for the most most expensive computers, and maybe we can save some money and have a as well good experience for our work, and have more money in our pockets. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, maybe a little thumbs up will help me with producing something more on this channel, and see you in the next one.